For a long time, I can just talk from my own experience, but for a long time I was looking at people like the Go-Go Brothers and people like a lot of Japanese dance crews, hip-hop dance crews, and really trying to emulate their style. And I think what that did was it helped me a lot because it gave me some sort of focus and direction. It's like, yeah, I kind of knew what I wanted to look like, you know? I wanted to have that funk, but it was this constant journey of trying to look like something else. And it was in that journey that I was sort of finding myself. You know what I mean? So it's alright to sometimes want to look like someone else, because in that journey to look like them, you'll end up finding your own voice or your own kind of steez, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, one of my goals is to own a Lamborghini by the time I'm 30.
Okay.
That's just, I guess,
Okay.
that's good. It's got nothing to do with dancing, really.
No.
But I would love to retire by the time I'm 30, and then just travel the world and meet new people. That's, I guess, a goal that's been on my mind for a while. I guess in terms of Australia, like, as I said before, I'd love to see freestyle as a subject in school, and where it's being taught as a compulsory, not just elective, but a compulsory subject where kids are taught the art of improvisation and how to think on their feet.
Now I'm going to do something on this side. Now that's sick. That's a sick way of dancing. It's a sick way of practicing, but it can get a bit monotonous and a bit boring. So if you want to keep it interesting, it's about finding a move or a position or a shape or a feeling within one party step that lends itself to another party step. And that comes down to you, of you finding, oh, this move goes really nicely into this move. Oh, that's very similar. Wait, this step kind of moves into this step. And transitioning movements becomes very easy once you find that point within the step that sort of lends itself to the other step. But that comes down to a very individual thing, you know, what works for you.
In terms of dance competitions, I don't have real aspirations of entering these comps, such as like Just Debut, and I mean, dance comps are fun and they're a really good way of pushing yourself, and they're a real good indicator of where you're at, you know. But at the same time, this is really important, right? This is what I think. This is my opinion in these dance battles. That what happens during a battle is so unique to that time and that place and that person's opinion who was sitting there and who made a decision. It's not a reflection on your ability, your skill level, your feeling. It's not a reflection on any of that. So I think dancers shouldn't put too much weight and importance on these competitions, because really it is a reflection of just that single moment and what that person thought at that moment. So I think that's really important to keep in mind when you're entering these comps. Also, when you're entering a comp or battle, if you're not down with the judges and if you don't respect them, or if you're, don't enter. It's as simple as that, Or enter knowing that that's how you feel about them. And so there should be no reason really to complain if you didn't win or if you didn't get chosen. I think that's, something that we sometimes forget when we enter these comps. We put these competitions on a pedestal, and it's like, that's all in our heads, really, that how much significance and weight you put on coming first is really up to you. Comps are a great way of pushing yourself, but there are so many other ways of expanding your knowledge and expanding your skill set. Dancing with each other, dancing with your friends, dancing to music you've never heard before. For me, that's one of the biggest things that inspires me, is when I dance to a song that I've never heard before, and just trying to improvise on the fly, you know? I live for those moments where I surprise myself. And for me, that's actually what pushes me. It's like I'll do something when I'm dancing that I've maybe never done before, or I've done before in some way, but it had a slight twist, or had a slight, slightly different. And I think those kind of moments are really what push me. I guess the biggest challenge is remaining a student of life, and remaining a student of music and of dance and of culture. So you're always keeping yourself open and keeping that learning curve real steep is my biggest challenge. I think a lot of the time as dancers, it's going like this, and sometimes sometimes we feel it just plateaus, and we feel like we're not actually improving or we're not growing. So that's one of my biggest challenges, is that I always want to keep that learning curve steep, and it's finding ways of doing that. Yeah.
And thinking of training, think of going out as training. You know what I mean? So every time I go to the club, I'm training. But I'm not thinking of it like, oh, now I'm training. Okay, now I'm gonna practice this move. But I'm just thinking of, I'm gonna just have fun, I'm gonna dance. And then while I'm dancing, I might think about, oh, what was that move I was thinking about the other day, you know? And I might just try pulling it out. And not even thinking too much. That's the other thing. Try not to think too much when you're dancing. You really gotta feel it. And it comes back to what I was saying before. If you are thinking, that should tell you straight away you're not familiar with what it is you're doing. Because you're still internalizing it. You're still trying to let it sink into your body, which is cool. But really try to feel it. Music comes first, so you really got to connect with the music before you dance. Cypher, battling, I see it a lot in Sydney as well. When there's like battles, people will just like come straight in and be like, bang, yeah, I gotta like go straight for the battle. It's like, cool, but are you listening to what the music's saying? Because music's talking about love. And you're like, that's cool, it's a battle, but you can still battle and interpret the idea of love in a battle. Do you know what I mean? But it's just a matter of connecting with that sound before you actually enter a battle or enter a cypher, which is really key. Because then, you're not really dancing. You're just doing your own shit to the music. You gotta connect with the music first, which is why it's cool, like, I guess, as a battle strategy or whatever, or a battle technique. It's, for me, I think it's real cool just to chill and wait till you really feel the music before you decide to go in hard. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be in a battle or a cypher or whatever. Let the music sink into your body before you start trying to connect with it. You know what I mean? Or ride the beat before you start trying to hit everything. Is really important.
I think for me, dance is life. Life is dance, and I try to, when I am dancing, I try to make it as integrated into my lifestyle as possible, so I don't feel like, oh, now I'm a dancer, now I'm an industrial designer, now I'm a whatever, So I'm trying to get away from these titles. Even being a dancer is a title, and as soon as you say you're a dancer, you put yourself in a box. And that box people will view that box differently, People will see you differently because you're a dancer now. But just integrating music into your life, I guess I can talk from my own experience. I grew up around music. Dad was always playing music in the house, during parties, just over the weekends. So it was always there. And I guess that helped me a lot in terms of where I am today. Something with house music, which I didn't get to mention in the workshop, and this is just the way I feel about house music and house dance, is that I feel house is very different to the other street styles of dance. It was born in the club, and that's what really gave birth to house music in Chicago. But I think it's important to really be free when you're dancing to house music, because the music is so free. And there were no real guidelines. When this music was created, you had dancers doing all sorts of crazy styles to this music. You had people doing jazz, tap, capoeira, breaking, like salsa. There was so much going on that it was just so open to interpretation. And we think of house dance as having these set of guidelines and moves like loose legs, pas de bourrée, shuffle, where if you think about it, these dances were just created because there were a certain number of people around that time who said, all right, let's create some moves and give them names, have some nomenclature so that we can preserve this dance. But had those dances been different people, or had there been different people around the time, which there were, these names might have been very different, you know, and these moves might have been very different. So it's just interesting to think about it that way, that whatever you do to house music is your house dance. And that's kind of like how I see house. If you're popping to house music, then you're doing the technique of popping, but you're representing house music at that time, you know, you're dancing to house music. So that's your house dance. And that's how I kind of see house, which is why I see it a bit different, because I don't think any of the other styles had that, you know. Hip hop had hip hop moves and had hip hop party dances, but also those dances came from the funk era. And a lot of those funk soul dances came from the jazz era. And a lot of those jazz dances came from, where did those jazz dances come from? I don't know. Jace, where did that come from? Tap? Jazz music. You know, I guess jazz music gave birth to a lot of those jazz dances. And then you can keep going back and just kind of seeing the lineage or the progression of how these dances came about. And that can also give a lot of importance and a lot of more meaning to the dances you're doing. So I'm sort of just going wherever, but history is really important. I don't think we really touched on that, but yeah, it's important to look back on.
In front, double three is triple, 1, tap 2, twist back on the toe 3. 1, tap 2, back on the toe 3. And then 4, 1, tap, again, second twist. As you twist, you heel, and then step down. Step twist, feet are out, tap, twist back, boom, step down.
Yeah, my advice to the next generation would be to keep pushing the boundaries of what you think is the right way, or what you think is the correct method or the correct way of looking, you know, of moving or of feeling the music, because there is no right way, you know, and there is no correct method. It's really about you, and it's about finding your voice as a dancer and as an artist. And that's a continual journey, as we were saying before, you know. So that would be my advice, and I think a lot of dances these days, Australia, internationally, look the same. And something that is missing, I think, is that the idea of pushing that to try to look like yourself, you know, and to try to look and try to feel like no one else but yourself. And it's a real liberating feeling when you do feel that. Yeah. I think hip hop, the whole culture has changed a great deal, from being like a socio-political movement to something that's, I guess, so bastardized and like commercialized by the media. So it's so broad. But I think that evolution is also the same thing that keeps the culture alive. The fact that it is always changing, and the fact that new music is always going to get created, and it's it's interesting just to think about what hip hop might look like, in 30 years from now. And it's changed so dramatically within the last 30, 40 years. I mean, the culture was in existence before people called it hip hop. You know what I mean? People were living this, people were doing this stuff before we gave it this name. But I think that evolution process and that change it's going to constantly keep changing, and it is the language of the youth. So it's something that's, I think, always going to go from the bottom up rather than the top down. You know what I mean? If that kind of makes sense. Like, that's where the energy comes from. It comes from the youth, and it comes from artists who are creating new music and guiding, I guess, the genre and the style of music, and dancers who are then adapting to the music and also guiding that culture as well through the creation of party steps and through the creation of party dances. Yeah.
Try to remember all the stuff we did at the start with the light feet, all those polyrhythm things, 1 and 2 and, again, this is on the same count, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, and we're doing the bad one variation. But polyrhythms are really good because I think that's something that is common across all street dances. The idea of using your entire body, but because the music is so polyrhythmic, trying to interpret that music with your own body, using polyrhythms to sort of, I guess, using party dances in different ways to try to hit different layers of the music. And that can happen with training. But you guys know about polyrhythms? Multiple rhythms and stuff. So using, and we touched a little bit on it, but like something like this, boom, boom, boom. We were doing that with the shoulders, hitting at a different pace will mean that you're hitting different parts of the music. 3 counts as well. Fuck with 3 counts and 5 counts. Like, it makes your dancing so much more dynamic rather than always staying on the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 4 and 5. 6 and 7 and 1 and 2. You know what I mean? Like, just playing around with stuff like that. It's very easy to do in house music because it's so constant. Then you got the other stuff happening. In hip hop, it's a little harder. You can sort of fake it under house, fake it under popping, because you can sort of hide behind just a hit, or in house you can just hide behind like something real simple like a 2-step. But with like locking in hip hop, it's a little more, you're a little more naked. You know what I mean? You're a little more exposed, and you can really see how well someone can dance. When you're dancing to funk music, when you're dancing to hip-hop music, is what I feel. A lot of hip-hop music coming from funk, sampling funk, so yeah.
So, if anyone's coming down to Melbourne, where can they find you?
They can find me in the club. They can find me, if you come down to Melbourne, definitely hit me up. I'm teaching at different dance studios in space at the moment. Occasionally at Passion, but I'm also running workshops on the street. These are open workshops on a basketball court in the city, and it's open to pay whatever you think the workshop is worth. And if you're interested in learning, definitely hit me up. All you have to do is look up Nish's dance classes on Facebook, and you can find me. Big ups to Funk the Fame, Jason, Pat, just keep building, keep growing. I think Sydney's got so much talent and so much, as we were saying, so much local talent here, but it's about recognizing it and cultivating it and really building up the next generation, as well as our generation, but building it up so that we can be proud of it, and be proud of also where we're taking Australia, because it is in our hands. We are the future. Yeah.